Well, we've finally reached the beginning of the end, quite literally, as we began this discussion starting from the bottom of this list compiled by this blogger who goes by the name of Eve's Daughter, who runs a blog site by the name of Eve Bit First, where she hit us with quite a list of indicators which purport how to identify when a man is a supporter of rape. You know, I never did bother to count how many of these things she actually listed, so I'm going to do that now. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, that's 16 on one page, 18, 21, 24, 27. So she gave us 30 indicators as to how to tell that a man is a supporter of rape. She might as well just come out and say that these are indicators to identify a man is a rapist, because the way that she sums it up down at the end of her list is with this quote. So let's see how many women reading this know at least one male over the age of 18 who does not fit this list. Anybody? Notice the very specific wording that she uses. Male. Not heterosexual male. Male. Period. So even with this list that she compiled as a man who is identified as a supporter of rape, let alone that she doesn't come out and mention that he's actually a rapist, which again, as I said, she may as well just come out and say that that's what she really means, because that's what her marching orders guru, Andrea Dworkin, basically promoted, was the idea that all men are rapists. But let's just give her the benefit of the doubt, which I know is stretching it a bit. But let's just say that, okay, she's leveling it down to whether or not a man supports rape, and that these are not just indicators of whether or not a man is guilty of raping or having been a rapist or has the potential of being a rapist. Let's just say that she means exactly what she says, which is these are identifiers of men who support rape. I was very emphatic by quoting herself exactly the way that I did, to point out the fact that it does not matter who or what you are, sexually speaking. You can be a heterosexual, you can be a homosexual, you can be celibate, you can be a eunuch, and yet this list will still apply to you because you carry a penis between your legs. And that's the whole trip that this whole Eve's Daughter has been on. And let me calm down. Because as I stated, I still have one indicator left. And as I stated from the very beginning, we started her list in non-traditional fashion. We started from the bottom and worked our way up to the top. Now we are at her very first entry that she listed. And you know what? I'm going to tell you the honest to God truth right now. I don't want to answer this. Not that I can't, because as I intended to show by going through each and every one of these indicators, is that each and every one of these accusations or assertions that she threw at us has a proper answer. And each of those proper answers exposes her as the evil, harpy misandrist that she truly is. She doesn't care about women. She doesn't care about rape victims. All she's doing with this list is trying to find any and every way possible, any and every way imaginable to slam men, all men, with no concern or no consideration for their sexual proclivities. She as well as said it herself. In fact, at the very beginning, she shows that her intent is to not let any man off the hook at all, because in her opening paragraph, right underneath the headline that she supplied to this, quote, "This is a handy guide for women who involve themselves with men." What does that mean? Continuing her quote, "I've recently received a bunch of comments from men who say that they aren't rape supporters because they, 1, have never, quote, raped, unquote, a woman, and or 2, are gay. If you are around a man who claims to be anti-rape, see how he stacks up." Ending her quote. So you see, even with her tone, even with the very words that she uses, she's showing that she has absolutely no concern whatsoever for any possibility that a man can be anything other than guilty of being a rape supporter. That's her whole agenda. And she so much as even spits in the face of homosexual men. You know, people want to come at me talking about how can I believe that homosexuality is a choice, or how I believe homosexuals can change if they want to, or how I don't believe that people are born homosexual or whatnot. And yet I have more respect for homosexuals than this harpy clown does. Because she won't even allow them the simple benefit of the doubt of appealing to their backward sexuality as a way of establishing their innocence and being labeled as a rape supporter. This bitch is just an all-around man-hater of all men. Gay, straight, bisexual, indifferent. If it has a penis, it's guilty. And that's why I chose to answer each and every one of these questions, to call her out on her evil hypocrisy and her shameless misandry. And as I said, that leaves us with the last question, which I did not have time to fill in during my last upload. And now that we're at that point, I honestly don't think there's anything left to prove. So even though I can spend a full 10 minutes answering just this one question, I'm not even going to dignify it with that in-depth of a response. I'll just throw it at you this way. Her quote is, "A man is a rape supporter if he has ever sexually engaged with any woman while she was underage, drunk, high, physically restrained, unconscious, or subjected to psychological, physical, economic, or emotional coercion." And rather than digging in deep, which you know I want to, judging from the depth that I've supplied to each and every one of these shameless assertions and accusations, but just so I can get the hell off of this nasty, putrid, disgusting, I'll just wrap it all up this way. Reread this first sentence that she posted as being an indicator that a man is a supporter of rape. Then take the pronoun he, switch it with she. Take the pronoun she, switch it to he. And take the identifier noun woman and lop off the WO so that it becomes man. Then reread that sentence and then ask yourself, what does that make a woman if she falls into that category? But I know you're not going to give the consistent answer, and the reason you're not going to give the consistent answer is because you're a hypocrite, you're a fraud, you're a fake, you're a phony. The same problem I'm having with these creeps like Alec Niles and Debsterism, aka Miss Heartbeat, and this Tea Party clown who goes by the username War Fossil, and this Keith Olbermann junkie Mini Artist. They don't want to answer questions that require consistency in character and in a belief system, because they know it exposes their hypocrisy. It shows their true intent. It shows that they are not concerned about the issues that they champion and that they parade around. Because they know that the moment they show any fraction, any fragment, any speck of consistency when the roles are flipped, then they have to acknowledge that they're riding on some BS, disingenuous agenda. And I hope those of you who are listening to me can actually see through this garbage before you allow yourselves to get emotionally swept away or caught off guard by this nonsense. All it takes is a little bit of logic. All it takes is examining the other side. All it takes is a little reversing of the roles, and then asking those questions and demanding a full faith, legitimate answer to those reformed questions, and seeing whether or not you get the same answer. But see, when people roll with an agenda, there is no objectivity, because there is no honesty. They're only concerned about upholding and supporting an issue that they've prized and that they've championed, is only so they can feel superior to someone else. But when it comes to showing equal consistency across the board, they tuck tail and they run like bitch pussy cowards. Because that's all they are. And that's all they ever will be, because they are afraid to face themselves. That's why you get cowards like Alec Niles and this Tea Party freak War Fossil who run and duck and dodge and hide and shy away from little simple questions that require nothing but a simple yes or no answer. But they'll pull out everything out of their behinds in order to try to make it seem like you're the one who's off your rocker, you're the one who's the crazy one, you're the one who needs to be on her medications, or launching accusations talking about how you're deserving of this disrespectful label or whatever. Anything and everything except answering a simple question, showing that you've got a modicum of decency, of character, and of consistency about yourselves. Because you're liars, you're phonies, and you're frauds. Which is why people like this, all they know is ducking, dodging, deflecting, obfuscating, and ultimately launching into ad hominem attacks. Because they don't have anything on which to stand. Because they know as soon as they try to show any balance whatsoever, their entire platform shatters beneath them. Which is why, to this very day, not a single person has come in on any installment of this point-by-point breakdown daring to challenge me on anything that I have expounded upon. To this date, no one has found a legitimate problem with any answer that I gave to any of the items on this list. It's because they know they can't do it, number one, and number two, they know that as soon as they do it, they expose their hand. And if you want to take that as your challenge to come at me and try to challenge anything that I've said, I welcome you. Take your best shot, but don't deflect. Don't dare try to deflect. Pick an issue, stick with it, and don't start to try to backpedal your way out of it once the flames start getting a little too high for you and the heat becomes a little too intense. So with that, I'm done on this issue. I'll be back in the coming days and weeks to expose some more phonies, frauds, and hypocrites and charlatans. In the meantime, aloha and ahui ho. Alright, I have to engage in that ever so rare stop the presses moment, because after I had finished and completed this series, I decided to do the one thing that I normally do once I finish a project, especially if it's going to form a playlist. I went back and I re-reviewed pretty much everything that I had done up to this point, just to see how everything flowed together, what all. And I need to make an addendum to everything that I've stated thus far. And this goes all the way back to the beginning, my very first upload on this series, which again, keep in mind, we started at the bottom of her list and worked our way up to the top. Now this was significant because, do you recall during my first upload relating to this topic where I said the following? He defends these actions by saying that some women also engage in them. Well, I have absolutely no clue exactly what she's talking about, so I'm moving on to the next one. Well, now we can modify that, because now, after all has been said and done, I understand exactly what she means now. By starting at the bottom, I did not allow myself the ability to digest everything of this putrid spewing vomit that she laid out on a platter for us to consume. But had I approached these issues in the more traditional fashion, then it would have made absolutely perfect sense to me. But either way, we still get to tack this on at the end of the whole routine, because it very effectively sums up exactly where this disgusting, putrid, sorry-ass example of a woman's mind was coming from. What she is in effect saying in her wrap-up indicator is that if anybody dares to do the very same thing which I have done throughout this intensified and detailed breakdown of her disingenuous, hate-filled, misandristic screed, if anybody should dare call her out on her contradictions or her lack of consistency, or if anyone should dare call her out on her fraudulent, one-sided insincerity and expose her on her hypocritical double standards, if anyone should dare come at this putrid list with truth, facts, evidence, and logic on their side, deflating, deconstructing, and utterly obliterating each and every one of these false, phony, fraudulent indicators which she uses to identify men who are supporters of rape, then Billy Boy, you have just designated yourself as a supporter of rape, because you have the audacity to stand up for fairness, for justice, and for truth. So with her own closing statement, she has confirmed everything which has been said about her up to this point. And there's no need to say anything more beyond that. End of line.